We're pleased today to speak with Jack Whyte, a successful historical fiction author. He had his first novel published at the age of 52, and now has over a dozen books which have dealt with Arthurian legend and the Templars. The success of his last book, Order and Chaos, carried him to over 1 million sales in Canada alone. And he's coming out with a new series in September 2009, set in medieval Scotland, on William Wallace. He joins us here today to speak with Medievalist.net. Thank you very much, Mr. Whyte, for coming.
It's a pleasure.
You've been a teacher, a musician, and an entertainer. How did you become a writer?
I've always been a writer. I've always been a storyteller. And all of them, it sounds as though I've done a lot of things, but everything that I've done in my life has been directly tied to storytelling in some degree. You know, as a teacher, you better be a good storyteller, you're not going to be a good teacher. And then I became a professional musician, entertainer. I started out as a folk singer, and I became a professional, and I'm still singing largely a folk-based repertoire.
Right.
And folk singing is storytelling. Then I got into business writing, and still storytelling. My job was to tell the story of whatever corporation hired me to write their stuff. And so everything I've done has been storytelling.
I understand that you completed 3 manuscripts before you finally decided to publish. What made you wait so long?
Because I wrote for 15 years, from 1975 until about 1990. Simply because I was driven. I had this story inside me that had never been told before, and or it had been told, but the mystery within the story had never been solved. And the mystery in this particular instance was how the sword got into the stone and how the kid pulled it out. I knew how it was done, so I set out to write this story, knowing the end of the story. What I did not realize was that I didn't know the beginning of the story. I had to go looking for it, and it ended up taking me 5 big novels to get to the end of that story. It came out in 6 volumes to get to that final scene that was there when I began. So if anybody had told me then it was going to take me 30 years to get that Arthurian story over and done with, I would have never begun. Never would have. So I wrote and I wrote and I wrote because of a compulsion. I really didn't consider that it would be publishable. It was just something that was inside me that had to come out. I was writing it from my own satisfaction.
Organic, and you just decided.
And then my wife said to me, "Don't you think you ought to try and get that published? You've got 3 finished manuscripts." And at that point, the specter looms of sending it in to get published and having someone come back to you and say, "I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Whyte, you just wasted 15 years of your life. This is unpublishable garbage." That was scary. Didn't happen, but the potential was there.
Oh, definitely. Some of your reviewers have found that you have an unorthodox style of writing, and you have a love of detail, and your characters are fond of speaking at length. But your growing fan base shows that your storytelling is very much in demand. How would you describe your writing style and how you create a story?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm a storyteller, and I write to entertain. I write for people who want a solid, well-researched story, and who want to read about complex characters who have lives of their own and are not afraid to expound on their own beliefs and ideas. And that's why the criticism comes up that I'm over-detailed and all the rest of it. That's one man's opinion, or half a dozen men's opinion, and my fan base likes it the way it goes. If I were to change my way of presenting myself, I would lose my fan base.
Yeah, it would.